demanding.
Right. Okay,
All right.
Norman, take it away.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm very much great to see everybody, and I'm very much in sort of listening mode. So I've just got one tonight, and it's a tale of two magpies and a birthday balloon. And I guess the theme is, it's a true story. The theme is life and death, but it's not morbid. So it's called One for Sorrow, Two for Joy. One for sorrow, two for joy, so the nursery rhyme goes. Our robin and sparrows dart at speeds which take your breath away. Our two magpies glide down and strut across our lawn with considered movement, probing the grass recently mown. We first met our magpies during the late summer fade of the year, surveying, examining their territory perched on our garden fence at the rear. The seasons passed, and when we reached the wind chill of February, near the top of our plane tree, a determined magpie pulled at a stubborn yet supple twig, the foundation of an embryonic rig. Several days passed by. Then the makings of a nest took shape, built with basket weaver talent, tightly woven twigs, until half a base was complete for two magpies, a constructive feat. Heavy winds, as forecast, arrived and gusted through our neighborhood for 2 days. No magpies within view. On the morning of the third day, we scanned for broken fencing and saw the magpie nest intact on track for future nesting. But caught in the lower branches, we did have an addition, a birthday balloon that looked worse for the wear, with multicolored strings swirling, fluttering in the air. Undeterred, the magpies continued their diligent build, with loose twigs, leaves, and mosses mined from the neighborhood until a dome-based nest with a roof and entrance proudly stood. We began to wonder if, after all their endeavors, the magpies had watched us weed and potter in the garden, got to know us, and eventually trust us, and thus set up home to bring new life into the suburban. This left us to reflect that the birthday balloon had its day. Once bobbing amongst the skipping children who played their party games, dancing around the candled chocolate cake with icing and sprinkles on top which grandma did bake. Now the balloon is deflated, bedraggled and faded, life draining away, left clinging to the branches in its own stubborn, jubilant way. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Norman. So next, Jim, do you want to read next?
Yeah, okay. This poem is...
You've disappeared.
You've gone muted, Jim. That's right.
It just mutes me again.
Oh, got you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's about my father, my relationship with my father. He was a very fine man in his own eyes, not so much in mine. Dramatic pause. The spondes are as always impressive, I say, emphasising in this case the poet's, or I should have said dramatic pause, somewhere in central London. The spondes are as always impressive, I say, emphasising in this case the poet's sheer hatred of life. The murmur of approval is scarcely audible, but I'm in my stride. And the awkward collapse of a dactyl, I add, is so opposite to the self-flagellating nature of a content, don't you think? At this point, there is a vortex of sound, a roar and whirl of atoms in motion. And there he is, my dead father, damp and reconstituted from the ashes I'd thrown down a toilet in Leeds such a long time ago. Irate and dripping wet, he stands opposite like the ghost of Banquo, half in bright sunshine, half in drearest shade. He ignores the group and trains his gaze on me. Spondes and dactyls! he rages. This is the talk of decadence and fops. There is nothing manly here at all, nothing remotely worthy of a sergeant major's son. You are no blood of mine. I'm aghast. If only that were true. His scars are on my soul. I stare. He stares back, then goes. The group fidget. Light pours through an open window.
Oh, got me.
Yes, excellent. You got another one,
Thank
Jim?
you. No, I'll read another one later. Yeah.
Right, okay. Lorraine, do you want to give us a poem?
Someone else was called Lorraine as well. There, look. Maybe, I think you mean him first. Steve, is that,
I mean you first. He is an accidental Lorraine. You
are
are
you sure?
purposeful Lorraine. Yes,
You're sure? You're absolutely sure? All
I'm
right.
absolutely sure he's an
No,
accidental
No,
Lorraine.
I've got nothing to do with politics yet. I wish I did have the time. This is about Chislehurst, which I absolutely loved, and I went to a poetry group there, the first one last week. But it was where I was brought up there. My foremost years were Sidcup and Chislehurst for quite a few years, and so this was a blast to the past for me, and I liked it. Chislehurst. This is called Chislehurst Has Weathered It All. That's in 1936, on October the 4th, you might already know. A cautious contingent of East London felt they had to up sticks and go, and they weren't slow. With Oswald Mosley and co. on their tail, settling round Whitechapel and Sydney Street was sure to fail. And word went round that Chislehurst was known to regale. Napoleon, the third cousin, Napoleon the Third found calm, Camden Place copious with grace, as the Empress was impressed with such a vast stretch of space. Till Whitehorse Hill, West Chislehurst, decided to hail more emigres. The 1930s or 40s saw Chislehurst harbouring some vendetta, brewing in the Whitehorse Hill Inn, much the name as the renowned operetta. Much the same as the renowned operetta. But in next door, 7 White Horse Hills's Walco's food store, the uproar was much better. The new contingent did feel at home, surveying at the valleys, all the valleys and hills. Their forebears had lived on the Vistula's medieval verge, where only royals travelled on wheels. But the shop on the brow of the dell knew well home deliveries to the nobles' appeals. Jovial and warm were the Chislehurst indigenous breed of double-decker World War II bus drivers. Passengers shivered, Messerschmitts shadowed, but the 161's freight were survivors. Travelling toddlers alone in WW2 bus team care proved the staff were never skivers. Bijou Chislehurst was measured and tranquil, always spurned a skyscraper in sight. Dauntless, it knew how to react when crisis assistance was deemed definitely right. The answer was packing deep the nouveau in the caves to exclude any new blight. So that's probably what they should, even more of us, shove down the caves and lock the caves up. And they wouldn't want anybody, immigrants like us were then, etc. So that was Chislehurst anyhow. I won't do another one till later on, a smaller few verses.
This is going to be a very short round if everyone's just reading one poem each. Gordon, are you going to give us a couple of poems?
Okay, I'll give you a couple of poems. Since you've introduced a war theme, I'll start with Vladimir's Evening Prayer. I believe in God the Father Almighty, shaker of heaven and earth, and the cruise missiles and their fun of a load, conceived by the hierarchy, born of secret workers, ushered by an underground pilot, in flight, sped and hurried. Eventually it fell, and a great spray arose and ascended into heaven, and spitted in the face of intelligent life. And thence from the great spray came the sick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Ghost and holy convenient crunch, the consumption by flame, the destruction of things, the radioactive nobodies, and no life after blasting. Amen. That's a parody of, obviously, of the Nicene Creed. And if you would like another one, someone earlier mentioned about the current crisis on keeping warm, maybe this winter. Though it looks like we may be having summer for quite a while yet. So here's a little poem about keeping warm. Call it The Comforter. Built in and deeply embedded in the subconscious, that certain heat has a calming effect. Familiar, secure and restful, and always just right to perfect precision degree. With cyclical moons so steady and peaceful, more so than the sun or the glow of the earth, and the seed germinate in the luxury of freedom from want, opinion and need. That was The Comforter. And I could read another one. I've got one in about I wrote this only yesterday, I think. I don't even know whether it's finished. It's a bit serious. You might not like it, but I think it's quite nice to worry about things you don't like for once instead of just having a laugh. I call it The Dead End. There's a monster in our midst that we keep feeding, and we are hemorrhaging as more and more it's needing. And it's ailing, but unspeakable's the cure, though it's crippling us, the pain we sadistically endure. As it turns the screw and drains us without malice, greedily we sup the poison chalice. Competing goodnesses insist they'll give it most, regardless of the cost in their barking boast. Doctrinaire its weakness exposes, but don't declare a terminal prognosis. That might be enough from me.
Okay.
I'll leave you to decide what I'm talking about. Spoils it if I start telling you.
You have more poems in the second half, I hope.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can do with some more. Yeah, I might cheer you up in the second half. I've got a nice parody as well that I can offer in the side. I was going to do it before, but I got a bit carried away. I'll read you that in the second half. That should cheer you all up. I mean.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Nice to hear you, Gordon.
Thank you.
You're a real poet in as much as you don't know what you're talking about. You've just said.
Well, I know what I'm talking about.
We don't.
If
None
you
of us
don't
really
I'm
know what we're talking
that's
about.
okay.
Why are we doing it? Anyway, thank you.
Heather, would you like to read next? It's good to see you again.
Hello there, good to see you again. Nice to be here. I have two, but I'll read the second one in the second half. The first one is called Good Night, My Love. Chilled is my breath as I listen each step. Another stare and a step, drunk and inept. My hands clench to fists, the knuckles feel white. I bury my head to mask my fright. The drunk stumbling stops with a sneering scold, followed by moans like twisted Morse code. I hear his approach, the feet staggering on, mouth mumbling melodies from our wedding song. The door creaks loud and my soul stills its breath. Limbs hot from their hideout, yet cold like new death. My tongue turns to desert as you flick on the light. I long for new courage from this odd wedding night. Toes curl tight as the covers peel back. My safety invaded, yet my courage gains jack. Your eyes stay watchful as I sense them as hawks that are fierce as this blade yet to unfold. The honey of moon sighs its patience with dare as the knife in my clasp slips slowly from lair. This night is our last, so vexed is my love, whilst angels await you from far, far above. Free is our love, yet how easy it bends. What was once then is now never again. We are no toy things succumbing to whims. Have a care who you love and enter undimmed. That's it.
Thank you, Heather. That's very
Great,
powerful.
excellent.
Yes. Thank you. The temporary Lorraine is next. And you're still muted.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
you're not.
Yeah, hello everyone, thanks, yes. What I'd like to do is read just one poem, but it's quite a long poem, and it's basically the result of trawling through my back catalogue, and with about 50 poems, finding each poem perhaps 2 or 3 lines that I thought were good, scrubbing the rest and then collaging them together. So the narrative is very broken, but perhaps there's an underlying theme running through it. Well, I'll leave you to be the judge. Outside neon shines a yellow light, then nothing's seen and nothing moves. The noise is like a furnace fire. I hear it now as I wake in the night, a roar that startles in the silence. Words are close in form, 4 letters, both identical except the first. A mind in M is pointing down at earth. I dreamt I found a hole inside my sock, the one in which I put my foot. This greenness makes me indistinct beside your flowers blushing pink. I tried digging in the ground. Disturbing fork, it prods and pounds the meat of life to turn it round. Sea took hold, a traitor to iconoclasm. When the word was pointing up above my head, a double V or double U, dependent on the font. I love, more able than my mind to move and leave the past behind. The noise is not a thing at all, except in thought, unless, of course, another thought. It's always there behind our aural life, a hidden roar, a furnace fire, or farmyard cattle in the wind, a herd that's hardly ever heard, except when waking from a dream, when for a moment worlds are there. If not quite seen, it also seems like inside streams of blood that traffic round, a foreign farmyard's muddy, bloody ground. I try to stop these thoughts, these sounds, and settle for a safer fact. My corporeal body still intact, though empty breast still yearns for farmyard fullness back. I see the clouds race by above, below my feet sink in the mud, and lessons taught will come to naught. The sun drops down behind the gardens, down behind the dirty ditches, down the trackless railway track cut in the hill with shafts of light that flicker around a bricked up tunnel, hums of central heating systems, radiators clicking, kicking into action. Shit, it's 7:30 in the fucking morning, sounds of soldiers on parade. Their thumping feet will match the gun's tirade. I stayed awake, so strange was this wild stormy break from sleep. I had a daydream, though it was the dead of night, a jukebox singing Stand By Me, return to sender. Silent streetlights, yellow dimness hurts my sight. The shallows fall on pages lined and white and covered by my pencil scribbled fancy flight. Fresh morning start will bring a bloody afternoon. Last night I travelled to another country, though it seemed another world. The road was long and full of incident. It started without hope, although a strange momentum soon took hold, and timetables and stops adopted forms, not of themselves, but possibilities. And I have woken up to be beside the scattered things I see. I walk a sodden winter path to catch a life in silhouette. I watch a Sunday practice match aestheticized by cigarettes. I saw a man surrounded by a nothingness. I hear the clunk of horses' hooves. The more I look, the more I see the passing cry, the keeper's call to come and play it back to me. And things acquired along the way were not a problem. Hazy now in early morning, on the road the darkest tone of all. Not home, for I am far from that. Past bare tree trunks and snow on tufts of grass. Nightmare, I awoke with lightning flash.
Thank you, Steve. Have you got another one?
I have. Have I not gone over the time, no?
Yes, you give us another one.
Okay. Hang
Thank
on
you.
just a minute, I'll find it. Here's a shorter one, actually, on a different tone. The bright light shone, the rabbit stared, the wheels rolled on without a care, but with them went, with sticky stuff, some rabbit hair.
I would say thank you, but poor rabbits. Sue, also known as 2345678.
I've changed now.
Yes.
Now I'm self-identifying as Sue Lewis. Oh God, it's yeah. There we go. Right. Okay, I hope you can hear me okay. Right, I've got three, and I've got a very short one, which is funny, which my daughter sent me, but I won't say for the second half, if that's okay. But they're all quite short. First one's called Solstice. Solstice, that's when the itch begins. Urgent wingtips cutting through, the sudden gorgeous sheen of feathers, mystery of our metamorphosis. First time we met, I recognized your attributes, your thin nose somewhat hooked, keen eyes, their frank regard, mine are the same. Hunting is our dance, our bonfire of the shortest night. High up, the petty world dissolves. We glide in silence through the dusk, unswervingly aligned. Afterwards, we preen our plumage, cleanse the tang of blood and bone. Resume our quiet lives, midsummer midnight calm. We understand each other perfectly. Both of us have secrets. There's this was kind of slightly inspired by a friend of mine who has an allotment, which I didn't know she had, and she took me to it, but I've changed it slightly, but it's called Allotted. Under the railway bridge, haunted by pigeons, through a haze of dusty feathers, murmured litany, then through a gate and into Mora's sunlit space. Dew anoints our feet, the silence settles thickly on us both. Ordered beds stretch neatly, receive the honey of the sun. We're in a different world, a shared and managed Eden. At Mora's small allotted patch, a robin greets us, tilts his head. We stand together with her ancient bramley. Sunlight warms our branches. 3 old ladies in a circle, somewhat bent and gnarled, still strong enough for now, although we know our winter's coming. 3 last precious apples given to take home in a bag. And then there's the next one is recital. Open-mouthed, the black piano gapes. A young man bends across the keyboard, pulling skeins of sound between his practiced hands. And you sit next to me inside a day which seems to be so precious and complete, close listening and our part in it. We share this time of ample music, autumn sunshine dancing on the stone. And then if I could read this one, which my daughter sent me. And there's a rude word in it, I apologize for that. Age 65, I don't know who wrote it, but anyway, it's funny. Age 65 bus pass, it's called. A little card in a plastic case bears a picture of my shining face. And from my Northwest London base, I can ride a bus to any place, wearing my crown of silver hair and having to pay no fucking fare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue, and thank your daughter as well.
Yeah.
Ted next. Hello, Ted.
Hello, baby. That last one's my sort of poem. Right, here we go. A couple of raves from the grave, which you may or may not have heard, but in 5 minutes' time, you'll have heard both of them. Smoothies. Smoothies made from berries, every kind of fruit. Smoothies when you're naked, smoothies in your suit. Smoothies with your breakfast, smoothies with your tea, smoothies in the bathroom, sailing off to sea. Smoothies when you're standing, when you're sitting down. Smoothies if you're yellow, black, green or white. Smoothies if you're brown. Smoothies when you're running, when you're standing still. Smoothies make you happy even though you're ill. Smoothies in pajamas, smoothies in your bed. Smoothies going bananas, going off your head. Smoothies keep you sober, stop you getting drunk. Smoothies when you're up a tree, a smoothie in your trunk. Smoothies playing football, smoothies playing pool, smoothies international, smoothies a special call. Smoothies in the daytime, smoothies in the dark, smoothing here at Fruit Stock Smoothies, Regent's Park. There we go. That was after that do we did in a tent at Regent's Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you can see here, there was a lot of smoothies around. Right, here we go. A nice cynical one here for me. Organically grown poem. Organically reared in the sunlit farm, stunned gently, humanely, for minimum harm. No added preservatives, no numbers with E, without lactose, no gluten or sugar, 100% fat-free, unprocessed, no sucking or grinning, no gristle or skin, nil sugar, nil salt, just an intimate fair trade deal with communes that export. No hidden eggs, secret peanuts or spice to stain shoes, nor water injections to make them make up the weight. Nout in our products will give you the blues. They are totally pure and decontaminated, devoid of all fallout and all chemical dust. Our products are genuine, you really can trust. Completely tasted and utterly wasted, they're natural, no packaging, buy 2, priced as 1. And if you come early, you'll get an extra one free. There you go. That's all you're getting. Hooray! Next victim.
I was going to say, is that all we're getting, Ted? Not another one?
Yeah. I'll try this.
Okay.
A soppy one. I did it the other week. Filmmaking. I loved it, you and I, sitting between the trees and the hillside, waiting for the light to shine through and mirror the river blue. The trees and shrubs in steaming silhouettes, and the birds diving for the early morning fish. The rain never mattered, and the insect bites proved as real. It was always you and me, only us, capturing it on celluloid, cutting and editing to sell to the filmmakers. Now, we camp in a cabin, offer authenticity, sit beneath canvas, pretending to feel ethnic. I shout at someone or telephone the field director. Yeah, the film's better, harder edged and crisper all round. That's the point. The scenery was always better, low key, low budget, and like you and I, slightly out of focus. Yeah. Don't want any more, do you?
Well, more in the second half, please, Ted.
Thank you, that'll do. Love it.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you for listening.
That's right. Thank you for speaking.
Yeah.
I was going to. I'm sorry, I'm doing a TED. There's a poem in here I was going to read and I can't find it. Oh no, here it is. It's Douglas Dunn's 80th birthday. So here's a Douglas Dunn poem. Preserve and renovate. All day he's painted his fence, his gate, as yesterday he sanded down the wood, replacing weather-rotted slats with good timber he'd cut. Preserve and renovate. Do what you need to do and do it now. Mottos like these explain fastidious hours spent tying up his borders, tasteful flowers, no unexpected plants, the sheer know-how presented by the weedless path, squared hedge, and that blade-paddled, tended, watered lawn fit for a naked nymph to dance upon, though no nymph has or would dare disoblige the kirky vision of his husbandry or get away with it, when with his watchful pedantry he guards each moment of his dusk grey privet. He looked at me with almost cross surprise that I had walked past his house 4 times today and yesterday, and though I tried to say good morning or good afternoon, his eyes glanced with an elderly contempt at me, as if I'd trespassed on the sacred silence, before he turned back to his mended fence that he was painting, white as white could be. And he was right. My walks meant indolence and curiosity, and he was wrong, because I saw in him ironic song echoing my dear father, an etched fragrance from rubbed down paint, glass paper, and the smell, stooping in overalls, doing the job well, then paint and brush and perfumes in the pulse. That is my work, though he won't understand, nor could my father. It's what I do, this risk of feeling that the sweet and true might be preserved, presented by my hand among the many others who do this for the same sake that is obedience to time and experience. For what is due to being, to be life's accomplice. 4 times today and yesterday I saw his patient, steady, careful labour plod in imitation of his straight-laced God, but he looked like my father. I could gnaw at that facsimile for evermore, but I know who I lack, not him, but that dead, distant doer, who looked like him, who draws me back and back. It's a lovely poem, but it reminded me of Seamus Heaney's Digging to some extent. Digging. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground, my father digging. I look down till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mould, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots, awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it.
Thank you, Peter.
That's right. Thank you, Norman.
Well,
Right.
one of my favourites. I love Seamus Heaney.
Yes. So that's the end of the first half. Do we want a 5-minute break?
Why not?
I'm
Probably
going to
lots
go
of
now.
reasons.
I'm going to go. It's lovely to see you all. I'll see you next time.
And you, Sue. Right, take care.
Take care, Sue. All
Bye
the
now.
best.
Bye-bye. So it's all yours, Norman.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
You got me now? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, I was only going to do one tonight, but I've dug out, there's a couple here. It's just the crazy times politically. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And I'm going to just read an abridged version of a poem that I have read to the gang some time ago, called "The Thames Flows On," and it's about following the social economic situation as the Thames flows from the west of the country through to the east end of London. And you know something? If I just read the last 3, 5, 6 verses, nothing much has changed. Bear in mind, this was written 2007-8. So the Thames flows on. And the Thames flows on, past the football grounds where in bygone days spectators stood, now paying dearly to sit with corporate hoods, watching their heroes play and pout. These players now own country mansions which they proudly tout. Into the heart of the city, to the rotten core, city traders, investment bankers, fund managers, their deals they flaunt, credit swaps, derivative talk, money drenched in bars and restaurants. This is the world of the big bonus raid where only the financial aristocracy get paid. And the Thames flows on into Docklands, a paradoxical name where now 21st century corporate cathedrals stand, housing the brass city elite, no messenger boys or courier mail, rather millions of messages transported over optical fiber, never to fail. Back in town, wives spend the free-flowing cash, foreign-owned department stores, a favorite splash. This is Bling Central, where non-dom Russian, Middle Eastern billionaires strut and preen and flash their wares. And so it was, the balloon did burst, a credit crunch, a financial curse. Still, money can be made in future years. Take note, tighten your belt, don't fall in arrears. Thank you. Not a lot's changed.
No, very true.
And well, I'm not sure if how many people are interested in motorcycles? Not a lot. Yeah, I think one person.
Yes.
No, I've never read this one. It's called Newlands, and it's based on Newlands Corner in deepest Surrey. And at Newlands Corner, it's one of these locations, and they're dotted throughout the country, where true bikers meet every Sunday. And certain times of the year, like bank holiday weekends and that, you know, instead of it bombing down to Brighton or something, this place is just chocker. But it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. And there's this juxtaposition, if that's the right word, where you've got all these beautiful machines, and they're based in some of the most beautiful, undulating English countryside that I've ever seen in my life. So I'll go through this, bear with me. It's called Newlands. This is the land of Ralph Vaughan Williams. Rolling landscape, a place for walks where ramblers traverse the paths and rocks, a place for dog walks and toddlers' first steps, mixed social backgrounds and demographics, a weekend escape out in the sticks. Suddenly, the roar of gleaming, sculpted metallic monsters in Kawasaki green, Triumph red, Yamaha blue, Honda yellow, Harley Davidson black, to name a few. The imposing arrival of leather-clad bikers fills the air with excitement for all the hikers. This motorbike brethren are young and old. Hear road-worn stories swapped and told, on the outside tough, rugged nomads, but inside, brothers, sisters, mums and dads. And then, to my surprise, amongst this band of testosterone, a black angel dismounts in tight-fitting leather, peels off her tight helmet and shakes loose her hair, cascading Goldilocks for all who stare. Then more noise, a thundering rocket noise of motor trikes and choppers, then more noise as the classics take up the rear, motorbikes which my father and uncle rode so dear, Ariel, BSA, Norton names from the past. These ghost machines take pride of place at last. Then more noise, the stunted noise of scooters with anorak-clad riders who later talk technical and drink some hard cider. Strangely, I feel at ease amongst this bonhomie. As stories exchange of technical prowess, I feel welcomed within this transient band of brothers, no less. Here, global warming is not on the agenda. Swapping exploits and tales, wild wind in the hair, experience avails. Then the smell of the cafe beckons, huge cheeseburgers consumed, followed by large mugs of tea. Replenished, they slowly maneuver, then accelerate and roar off into the distance, again free. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. So did you ride a motorbike yourself?
No, this is to summarize it, I was on the back of a few fast motorbikes at that, really fast. And my dad, I mean, he could take them to pieces and rebuild them and all the rest of it. You know, he came from that generation. Sadly, my uncle was killed in a motorbike accident, and that just kind of, well, it just stopped me ever getting the authority from my mum and dad. Although, you know, you've got to put things into context. But I mean, I just love the colours and that. And I mean, you've just got to go to Newlands. It is absolutely, talk about green and pleasant land. And these guys, it's actually unbelievable. I do have one other quickie I haven't read. You okay?
Before you go, Norman, the equivalent of Newlands must down in the south of the river was the Ace Cafe, or Ace Caf rather, and Johnson's.
Yeah.
All the bikers used to meet up there. And same thing. Actually, when you talk about Nortons and Ariels, not that I know anything about them, but I was also a backseat driver. I was a backseat driver because when my friend who did get a motorbike got his, before that, we used to come down the hill in his road, him and his bicycle, two-wheel bicycle, sorry, his pedal bike, and me and my pedal bike. By the time we got to the end of the hill, we were both on one bike. So I thought, well, I don't think it's a good idea Not that I could have afforded it
Yeah.
to get a motorbike. Otherwise, I won't be able to tell you that story now. In actual fact.
Yeah. I mean, they
So-
are very dangerous, but in the wrong hands. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it's just I've seen the East Cafe. I've seen many photographs, mainly black and white, Ted.
Yeah.
You know, I know it was. There's another one down here, not far from me, about 6 miles away in Dorking.
Okay.
And that is somebody's cafe, like Rosie's Cafe or something. I forget the name of it.
Don't know.
But that's just a large car park.
Okay.
And it's got a lovely cafe. And
Mhm.
it's next to Box Hill, which is quite world famous.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to write home about other than seeing the guys or talking to them, because it's in a massive car park.
Yeah.
But when you go to Newlands, you can imagine Rafe Vaughan Williams standing on that hill
Indeed. Yeah.
and writing his music. It
Yes,
is just
indeed.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'll do one more, Pete.
Yes,
Peter.
quick one. Yes, please.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that,
I mean,
folks.
I don't want to be in a downer, but it's just the political situation. I mean, you know, of occasional rants now and again, and you know, things happen in society, and it's not good, and you just can't help but write about it. This is very short. It's called Shooting, and yes, it's been. I mean, it was a shooting in London at the, you know, sort of. I decided to write this anyway. Shooting. Politics and immigration can lead to a better nation. Martin Luther King and equal rights, urban stabbings and nightly fights. Reality check to poverty. Politics can breed vanity, which challenges the ghetto sanity. No self-esteem or government funding, not even youth clubs, now still outstanding. Integrate or be left out. No one listens to the black folks shout. Now the stakes have reached tortured levels where bitter gangs just shoot their rivals. Sorry, bit of a downer, but it was fueled by gang warfare up in places like Tottenham and that.
Thank you, Norman. Jim, we can see you now. Do you want to read? But you're muted, so we can see.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I don't actually gamble, but I go into betting shops so I can actually watch the sport. But the gambling scene is very, very interesting, actually. I watch football on on the screens and whatever. Portrait of a gambler in a local betting shop. He seeks always the delirious prospect of self-destitution, as if it were a mother's impending embrace. Learns to engage with and respect fallen angels who glory in their losses like Christian martyrs. He feels redeemed and consoled by the silent, awestruck pity of other gamblers and feigns stoic indifference to initiates who scream abuse, then attack slot machines with metal stools. Yet he yearns to leap intact and brightly shining from the all-consuming jaws of addiction, longs to pursue redemption scenarios and the abiding wonder of spiritual rebirth. But after a big win, he is seduced and transfigured by hosannas announcing his planetary importance, and derides the impending oblivion of time wasters who have never taken risks, have never truly lived. So he ponces from others and is likewise pounced upon as he pursues multiple odysseys and Golgothas, his ears are forever attuned to a myriad siren voices. And as a notorious non-gambler, I watch on, impassively, entranced, priggish, and mournful. We exchange words devoid of meaning, and he leaves.
Yes, excellent. Have
Thank
you got
you.
another one for us?
No, I just got that one, sorry.
Oh, shame. Right, thank you very much, Jim. So will the real Lorraine read, please?
The real one, okay.
The real one.
As far as I know. Yeah, I wrote this a few years ago, but it's still Chislehurst based a long time ago. I recently looked at the history of Chislehurst and all places around. I went to a jolly nice school called Babington House, which is in the Chislehurst area. And it's quite dear to me, this one, because it's almost true. And the title is Macfarlane Nithsdale. If your bloodline was Latvian, Lithuanian, from the Ukraine, or that of a Pole, on the whole, it was pretty plain you knew you'd remain on the private independent girls' schools register roll, honoured like a square peg rammed in a round hole. Nonetheless, you were moved by the Scottish impact. All around, the ambience was tartan related. You yearned for a kilt with envy, you were racked, while the MacLeod skirts swirled jauntily and radiated. Oh, the sight of the smooth velvet Balmoral bonnet with some poor dead grouse's feather stuck on it, and the mesmerising wheezing bagpipes in contrast with the synagogue chauffeur's cochlear-piercing blast. But the object de désir was to own a clan name, and Macfarlane Nithsdale is what you craved to claim. They have one ancient check pattern, bright blue, green and red, and a camouflage mute version for a game shoot instead. Oh, courageous, outrageous Macfarlane Nithsdale, whoever you challenge will turn pale and quail. Cantankerous, capricious, ingenious are you, always cheered for the length of the discus you threw. De rigueur it was too, to trip the light fantastic, with intricate steps, nothing too bombastic. Unlike the horror, arms linked stomping around, the sword dance demands the jetés high above the ground. You're exhilarated, joyous, you feel liberated, till you notice a few surplus toes amputated. The teachers had warned it's most likely you might have an invite to reel at the hunt ball at all night. But a rumour you'd heard was a sense of romance would oft materialise at the point-to-point dance. All you had to do was search for a sash, which was compulsory for each classy bash. It wasn't that hard to find a good yard of tassel fringe, black and white striped fabric. And given a throw round your trousseau, if you half close your eyes, the prayer shawl looked chic. But you weren't really part of a unique Highland clique, nor could you pose in the black watch. So to convince the Aitsoms you were no churlish freak, the old Moscovich talus was renamed Moscovich. That's what happened. When I loved doing Scottish dancing there, we had to learn every possible reel, the Hamilton House and Duke of Montrose's Fancy, every possible one, and the kilts and God knows what, the speech days, we had to do that. But I loved all that anyhow, I wouldn't mind any.
So
yeah,
was Babington all girls, Lorraine?
Yes.
Yeah. And what was the Scottish, was it owned by Scottish?
Yeah, there were lots of Scottish people there, just every other person, because it was just after the war, and I think it was started off that school, Babington House. It's still around, and they've often invited me to talk to them, but I have nothing to say yet. Yes, everybody was a Mac something, except for a few cousins and me, but it was hilarious, you know, McTavish, MacLeod, Macfarlane. I loved it. It was hilarious, yes. And we had to get these kilts for speech day to do all the dancing and that. I really enjoyed it.
Good
The thing is, I saw a video of the Queen when she was younger doing those dances, or a documentary, and they all look crazy on purpose, you know, so that the TV had made really funny commentary with Prince Philip in it, and the Queen Mother. The whole lot of them were doing the dancing there, and that was weird. But I love Scottish dancing and lots of other as well, actually.
There you are.
Anyhow.
Do you have another poem, Lorraine? Or... Lorraine, do you have another poem?
Oh, I'll do one very little one. Very, very small one that is nothing to do. Yeah, hang on. I've got to find it as well. Yeah. Oh, right, yes. I may have read it before, so you might have to shut me up. It's quite recent. It's about the politics. And it's called In Retrospect. So what did you really expect? O'Leary's at home and henpecked. Trust concentrates with her head down, trying hard to calculate and not frown. but competes with Bojo, the partying clown, and as she's already philandered down to her new renown, adding to her new renown. Think twice again in retrospect. You don't need to respect any party's PM who's a surefire reject. They believe they're the saviour the Vox Populi would elect, but they're brilliant ensuring the UK would be wrecked. Suez and Eden's dilemma and Blair and Brown's WPD, null and void, managed to stir up their imagination, but unnecessary lives were destroyed. You can't take a leader for granted as they cosily cling to the helm. As ever, these isles will suffer and metaphors to a minuscule realm. So that's is my take on it, if it gets any worse.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Now I can, yeah.
Gordon, would you like to give us your cheery poem? But your
There you are. I've sorted out about 3 pieces. I don't know whether I'll do 3 pieces or not, but I've sorted out about 3 pieces. The first piece is If Today. Now this is a parody of Kipling with his If. I mean, his If was all right in its day, but things are a bit different now than they were then. What was laudable then is laughable now, many a time. So If Today. If you can shade beneath your arms and do your legs and other charms, can wear your heels and stand the pain with pride, and balance 18 stone and 6 feet 4 without a grimace or a wobble as you stride, can wear your piercings, lashes and extensions too, and smell of number 5, Chanel's most famous brew, and can salute with swan-like elegance and ease and cool that will belie pretense. If you can wear a fascinator to one side, and with a smile, whilst others in the closet hide, if you can do all that and more beside, then you are a girl, my son. Okay. The next one is a bit, mental health is an issue these days. Everybody talks about mental health. It's one of those things. I don't know what it is really, mental health. I've really got no idea. What we're supposed to be all the same, or what the hell? I don't know what it means. So I've got one here called Insanity. In con, dangers of letting them into your private parts. So talk of delphiniums, the nice balanced way, or do you think you're obsessed? And think on those bluebells, wild and upstanding, their heads pointing down, facing the ground, and on their own business give nothing away, but are safe as the tulips, closed up and calm in front of the cactus, all poised and clean, right bunch of pricks and bulrushes. Think on different orchid, all lovely and smiling, as inside the sweet peas, the poet, the poem, the poetry in the gardens of forget-me-nots. So think on. That's my insanity piece. And
Very good.
You like that?
Yeah, very good, Gordon.
And I've got one here that says going forward. Going forward. And so it was. We know what was, the way it was, because it was. We see what was. Everything was. You'll find it was, as it was. It always was. We came from was. We are of was. We live in was, are followed by was. And right now, we are with was. And right now, we are making was. And yesterday was. So where are we going? Going forward. we're going to was.
Thank you very much, Gordon. That's very good.
I've got just a short one here,
Okay.
The Prophet's Tale. Because I started doing this 21st century set of Canterbury Tales, which is a bit, I've done quite a lot. This is one of them, it's very short. The Prophet's Tale. And then, one fine day, the future begins without you. That should be enough.
Very true.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
That was Gordon. Now can we have Heather, please?
Can you do what?
Heather's next.
I like that
Oh,
last one.
okay.
One fine day, the future begins without you. Oh, I like that. I had two. One of them is mine. And one of them is written in 1865. Definitely not mine. I'll read you the one from 1865. It's written by somebody called Walt Whitman. I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you've heard? I've never heard of him, but I saw this poem in the garden. I thought, oh, I like that, so I printed it off and I kept it. Oh, Captain, my Captain, it's called. Apparently, it's about Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Oh, Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every wrack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh, heart, 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 oh, the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills. For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores are crowding. For you they call the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear Father, this arm beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm, he has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, that I with mournful walk the deck, my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. That's that one from 1865.
Really good, really good. You read it really well, I thought.
It's a wonderful
Brilliant.
poem. It's a wonderful poem, isn't it? I love that.
Brilliant.
I've not realised it before. It's the first time I've heard it and liked it.
Mm.
I'd never heard of the author, the poem, but yeah, it's,
It's all very well known.
and this one's by me, not as powerful.
Mm.
Aloneness. It is, aloneness is not as cold, nor as sparse, unforgiving and barren. Less fraught is it, more forgiving is it, this talented dodger of tension and torture. Far more comforting in all its greatness, it soothes the spirit, muting the chatter. With no malice nor melody of meanness, jigging not to the tunes of the many. It is misunderstood and mistranslated, accepted as a soul less or sinfulness. With the density of numbness in this garden of groans, I perch in the world's corner, alone in my aimlessness, plunged in peacefulness, saturated with soulfulness, watched over by the one and only one true oneness, who stays forever nameless in its invisibleness, yet keeps watch in my day and throughout my night, there to listen, coax, and encourage. Such is this companion, this functioning madness called Aloneness. It's that one.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Heather, you've got a lovely reading voice. Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Can the replica Lorraine read now, please?
The one that's got 2 R's in it. It's
Yes,
Yes.
there's E on the
No,
end. Yeah, I just like
Yeah,
to,
it is.
like to read a couple more old poems that I kind of found in the past month. The first one is called Annerley Hill. A number of people probably are familiar with the road, which is the main road running up from Annerley to Crystal Palace with lots of buses on it. Annerley Hill. 2157 buses grunt their greeting. 4 blackbirds in gardens eating, corping, scream a shrill reply. Exhausted engines say goodbye as birds rise up to meet the sky. But one blackbird stays in the garden, remnant from a time that's past, to keep watch over greening grass, now night storm mystery. And this next one is, I've got the title, or it might be called Fox, I'm not sure. There was a painting framed and waiting in the woods. The young man walked and sat to rest and saw it shine, but did not know, but soon found out it was surrounded by a viper's nest. The snake slid round, he could not reach the picture fair, the gold surround. He saw a fox half hidden in a thicket, shot it then and there and skinned it, stripped it, smeared its blood on him. His naked skin was then all red, the fox's furry head he put on his. Said, these snakes are scared of fox, I'll wear the smell, I'll wear the face. I'll take the picture from this place. The evening light shone down, resplendent on his foxy crown. As he descended in the darkened wood, the snake slid round in thickets thick with golden bramble, bracken brittle. Trees stood tall in woods that wait for those who stumble and then fall. Yeah, this last one, game untitled. Thoughts feel the same as the ball in the game, on these wet football pitches and practicing matches, and bounces and passes, and traps and one touches, and players, spectators, and me an observer, now watching forever my old football matches. Is this all there is?
Thank you very much, Steve. Ted, your turn.
Am I on?
You're on.
Okay, baby. Spider and the Fly. It was the usual rake around the airways, me and me mates, hanging around, eating places and dustbins, zapping the girls and getting wingless and all kinds of stuff. No, I won't be late, Mum, can't talk, I've run out of credit. Then it was the hero stuff, the big dare. Who could fly through the spider's web? The others made it, but the wind got me and I'm stuck on threads. Alarm bells going off all over the place. And this 8-legged hairy sod rushing towards me 50 times my size and grin spelling dinner. I'm treading sticky stuff and trying to bite my way to freedom. The more I bite, the more I stick. And I'm lying there, wings and legs to all points of the compass. Temple of Do Nothing. Harrison Ford, where are you? This guy's an Olympian, all glisten and sinew. And there's a bigger bugger, 3 times his size, all busted and lipstick, giving it all that Miss Piggy stuff. Kissy, kissy, kissy. Before I know it, he and Miss P's bouncing on his slumberland like a gymnast on heat. There are fucking bubbles everywhere. It was a strange look, a mixture of satisfaction and surprise as she ate him leg by leg. Same athletic enthusiasm, same heat. The heat must have melted the glue, and I catapulted into space. And me mates caught me, told me mum I'd been to a picnic and got caught by the fire. She told me I'd run out of credit and made me eat fresh food and fruit for a whole week.
Well done, Ted.
There, if you want it.
That's it. That's even for you. That's that's different.
Just part of the repertoire, boss.
Yeah.
Right. The farmyard, I'll give it that. If I'm allowed to. This is the farm. Oh, no, it's not. This is the food farm. Conveyor belt side by side in tiers. A capacity of 100 cubic hectares, each layer designed to the minimum height specification to maximize production space economically. The conveyors are staggered, guiding produce onto the conveyor below. At each level, they travel in opposite directions, providing a continuum to ground level. At the top, we extrude a synthetic ground of impregnated wool grow, which is cleansed, recycled, and used again later. A grid of pneumatic pipeline is calibrated to eject seeds on time at stipulated intervals, then flush through with gen grow, warm from the fertilizer plant. Every level maintains a temperature equivalent of the seasonal change of any country. This is simulated by the heat from the scanners, which electronically inspect growth, progress, color consistency, and shape for tolerance to plus and minus of 1%. Defects are corrected in the laboratory. Inconsistencies are genetically analyzed, and if unable to be purified, destroyed. Seeding to full growth takes between 1 and 1.5 hours, depending on which fruit or vegetable is being cultivated. The open structure of the farm allows air to travel through, giving an even item its organic quality. At ground level, the right product is suction picked and loaded into containers for the world's hypermarkets. Third world countries cannot afford our products. They still resort to unhygienic methods. We provide employment to the locality. 6 maintenance staff work 8-hour shifts over 24 hours, and 12 security staff man the top corners over the same period. This week, we are growing podless peas. Oh no, we would never consider livestock. Horrible, isn't it? Absolutely foul. Quickie?
Yeah, have a quickie, Ted.
Oh, all right. Behave yourself. Right, big issue. I'm being very nice and cynical today. I'm enjoying myself. Big issue. Big issue, new edition. Help me get off the street. Help the homeless and the aged, the unemployed, the incomplete. Help the big issue to help me. Help me to give them a chance to find a little harbour, Seychelles, or the south of France. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
But very cynical.
Yes, it's true.
But on Tuesday, I was in Chichester Cathedral and saw the Arundel tomb. So I thought
Oh.
I'd read Philip Larkin's An Arundel Tomb.
Indeed.
Side
Laid
by,
together side by side. Oh, sorry.
it starts off side by side.
Oh.
Side by side, their faces blurred. The Earl and Countess lie in stone. Their proper habits vaguely shown as jointed armour, stiffened pleat, And that faint hint of the absurd, the little dogs under their feet. Such plainness of the pre-Baroque hardly involves the eye until it meets his left-hand gauntlet, still clasped empty in the other, and one sees with a sharp, tender shock his hand withdrawn, holding her hand. They would not think to lie so long. Such faithfulness in effigy was just a detail friends would see, a sculptor's sweet commissioned grace thrown off in helping to prolong the Latin names around the base. They would not guess how early in their supine stationary voyage the air would change to soundless damage, turn the old tenantry away, how soon succeeding eyes begin to look, not read. Rigidly they persisted, linked through lengths and breadths of time. Snow fell undated, light each summer thronged the glass. A bright litter of bird calls strewed the same bone-riddled ground. And up the paths the endless altered people came, washing at their identity. Now helpless in the hollow of an unarmorial age, a trough of smoke in slow suspended skeins above their scrap of history, only an attitude remains. Time has transfigured them into untruth. The stone fidelity they hardly meant has come to be their final blazon, and to prove our almost instinct, almost true, what will survive of us is love. Arundel Tomb. Well, thank you all for reading tonight. It was a very good evening. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we will return to Zoom
Yeah,
on the
thank you.
third Friday of November.
Lovely.
And we return live to Ruskin House on the first Friday of November.
That sounds even better.
Yes.
Right.
See you soon.
I'm going to
Right.
bid you all bon nuit and
Yes.
see you
Bye-bye.
next time.
Okay, take care, Ted.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, Steve.
Take care,
Norman.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right. 1, 2, 3, I'm off.
Right, take
Bye.
care. Write lots of poems.
Gone.
Right.
I've
Good
gone.
night. Take care. See you next time, I hope, Gordon.
Oh, I did try to get rid of that, but